Madam Mayor and Council, I'll look that up for you, Councilman Elliott. The rule of thumb for us is if you're replacing a few pickets, then you can just replace your few pickets. The big thing is to make sure that when you're putting your fence up, that you're within your property line. So we don't wanna, we wanna alleviate a problem before it starts. So I'd have to look, if we get the information, I'd be happy to look that up for you.
Okay, I can get with you later if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So are we gonna have a work session after our next meeting on Edinburgh after we get the planning of it? So we can go over it with council so we know what's, you know.
Madam Mayor, Honorable Council, if that's the council's pleasure, I would be happy to do a workshop on that as well as the engineering firm. If that's council's pleasure.
I don't know how big of a discussion it would be, but we're gonna get the plans in the meeting, so I mean, there'll be plenty of time to ask any questions. Which piece are you needing specifically?
I don't know,
Yeah,
it's all been, I mean, most of it's been kind of blind to all of us.
I think we'll get a big
Yeah,
picture of what's going on.
you received the manual, the construction manual. I'll have that. I'll have the signature at that point too. And happy to answer all questions.
I did have a few updates I wanted to say. First, we had a city council workshop, was 2 Saturdays ago? Yes, and I think it was very successful. Some of the things that we wanted to make sure that we have prioritized in the immediate future, our big 3 goals were water, which include the spring boxes, the transmission line cathodic protection, leadership development. We want to do an efficiency study, get the city manager, interim city manager in place, the finance director, human resources, employee pay and training. And then technology services was one of our top 3 as well. We need servers, computers, software, and service agreements in place. And then we also discussed future and long-term planning, talking about sewer, which our master sewer plan was on that list. Beautification, code and building enforcement, parks, our Brownsville grant money, and collaboration and community partnerships, and then community development. We want to make sure we're business friendly, that we have workforce to work in our businesses, business recruitment, collaboration and partnerships, and in the Brownsville. So it was a very good workshop. I think we covered a lot of topics, and I think we narrowed down what our council goals were. And so I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware of what our priorities are going forward. I also wanted to heavily thank our Chief Ward and Pam Thayer for all of their work the last few months, and stepping in an uncharted situation. And so I just want you to be publicly recognized for all the hard work you guys have done. You've been amazing, and we couldn't have asked for a better team to help us get through this. Does anybody have any other council updates? Vice Mayor?
Okay. I had a couple calls. One I'm still pending. This was just about the hours for the shooting range, so I won't go into that one. But the school zones. So in our ordinances, title, let's see, this is 1018-160 states that school zone designations are permanent, but however in section 1024.070 makes special 20-mile-per-hour speed limit enforceable only when a driver is passing a school building or property thereof. So I think we need to clear this up because people are getting tickets for driving through school zones that aren't marked as school zones, but are designated as school zones, but there's no buildings at the school zone. And our own ordinance says that the only way to get that is if you are passing one. But then it contradicts itself and says, you know, it's designated permanently. So, if you guys are okay with that, I'd like to ask them to work on this and see if we can clean this up for future. Because getting a ticket in a school zone affects your insurance quite a bit more than just a regular ticket does. So, that was that one. And then, I had another person question about our meeting on Saturday. They asked if there was a recording they could listen to, and I stated, you know, we did not have one. And what their concern is if they're disabled, so getting to these meetings is difficult for them, just in general, so they watch most of them online. And I would like
It's very different,
if we could
because
do
minutes do constitute recording.
audio or video of some kind. So at least audio, because then they get the full, you can transcribe that into, for people who can't hear it, for that, then they can transcribe it full. So audio or video, as long as there's audio involved.
Thank you.
All right, moving down to unfinished business. And an ordinance for Rawlins Municipal Code, Chapter 1980 and 1916-20. Councilmember Singer.
I move to approve the second reading and waive the reading of an ordinance pursuant to Rawlins Municipal Code, Chapter 19.80, amendments and Section 19.16.020, zoning map changing the zoning classification from residential R7.5 to commercial transitional C2 for 12 parcels bounded by Spruce Street to the north and the municipal boundary to the south and between 23rd Street and 19th Street.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading and waive the reading of the ordinance pursuant to Rawlins Municipal Code, Chapter 1980, amendments in Section 1916.020, zoning map changing the zoning classification from residential R7.5 to commercial C2 for 12 parcels bounded by Spruce Street to the north and the municipal boundary to the south between 23rd Street and 19th Street. And I will pass it over to Lou.
Madam Mayor and Council, I'm just here for questions if you have them.
Oh, go ahead.
No changes,
None.
straight up?
We did have a couple of questions that were emailed to us, Lou, and, I was just gonna read them to you if that's okay.
Okay.
The first one, they mentioned the grandfather clause, and they say it undermines enforceability. They say the blanket grandfather dated in section 19.40.050 would prevent the city from requiring opaque fencing for industrial properties along major thoroughfares, even though these fences are required under both current and proposed ordinances. At a minimum, it's important to enforce opaque fencing standards for junky properties along visible roads. So I guess that has to go to the grandfather clause.
Madam Mayor, Honorable Council, those questions, I believe, actually go to another agenda item regarding
perfect.
changes to Title 19.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong question. Okay, then I retract that statement and we'll ask it again further down the line. Any other questions on this particular item? Okay, maybe we open online voting. Sorry about that, Lou.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 6 yeas.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. All right, moving down to new business and the approval of the September 22nd special council meeting minutes. Councilmember, or Vice Mayor Garner.
approve special council meeting minutes of September 22nd, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve.
Madam, Councilmember Seeloff was not present at that council meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do we have another second?
Second.
All right, now it's been made and seconded to approve special council meeting minutes of September 22nd. Any discussion? All right, Lynn, will you open online voting, please?
Online voting is open.
Yay.
Okay. Madam Mayor, you were not present at that meeting.
Oh, then I'm sorry. I will abstain.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's the one we
Just not
had
Which meeting I'm at?
That's
Oh,
a-
that's the one on the Monday.
Monday,
Yep,
yes.
You're right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let me hit. Hold on one second, it's not letting me switch. I'm gonna reopen it again. Okay, I reopened it because it wouldn't let me switch hers, Madam Mayor. So if you guys could vote one more time, please.
Mine's not popping up. I
We
will
have to
abstain.
refresh it or for you.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I had to, and Councilmember Elliott, do you wanna give a verbal?
Yay.
Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 4 yeas and 2 abstained. The 2 abstained was Madam Mayor Wells and Councilmember Seeloff.
All right,
Thank
now
you.
moving down to the approval of the Edinburgh Street project acceptance of perpetual easement. Vice Mayor, or Councilmember Sanger, go ahead.
I move to approve and accept the perpetual easement of the Edinburgh Street project and authorize the mayor to execute the acceptance form and direct the city attorney to record the easement.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve and accept the perpetual easement for the Edinburgh Street project and authorize the mayor to execute the acceptance form and direct the city attorney to record the easement. Any discussion? I'll pass it over to you, Attorney Leary.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Honorable Council. So by way of background, this easement relates to a portion of Edinburgh Street that crosses private property, and this is all within the city limits. So under Wyoming law, because it's private property, the city cannot construct or maintain any public infrastructure across private property without some sort of authorization. So this perpetual easement grants the city perpetual access to construct the road, all the infrastructure above and below this area. This is actually the first step to, in this process regarding this area, to bring this under the city's ability to maintain that road. It is currently crosses in between with private property that is dirt road. It's not in the most amenable condition for traffic, including access for emergency response vehicles. So this will also benefit everybody in that area. The next step of this is actually going to be, we are working closely with the landowner, community development, and we will be bringing this as a boundary line adjustment and towards the end result of a full conveyance of this property to the city. And as part of that, with that conveyance, it will separate the property into 3 parcels instead of 1, which will require boundary line adjustment. So that is gonna be the next step after this. But this allows the city to immediately after the project is awarded, to begin working on it.
Any questions? All right, then will you open online voting, please?
Online voting is open. voting has closed, the motion passes with 6 yeas.
Okay, moving down to a resolution appointing an interim city manager. Vice Mayor Garner.
I move to approve the resolution for the appointment of Matthew J. Hall as interim city manager and authorize the mayor to execute and deliver a conditional and contingent officer of appointment and engagement of services to Matthew J. Hall.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to move to approve the resolution for the appointment of Matthew J. Hall as interim city manager and authorize the mayor to execute and deliver a conditional and contingent officer of appointment and engagement of services to Matthew J. Hall. Any discussion? All right, then will you open online voting, please?
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 6 yeas.
Alright, so, Matt, we're gonna invite you up and I'm gonna sign this with you, and then we'll do that again, with the next step.
You said it's up.
So if you both could sign, then you'd be eligible as well. So I'll have you sign one, it's on the it is five,
This is the second step.
and then I'll have you, and then we'll just switch them if you're okay.
I know.
Ironically, when you're like.
Yes. Very excited.
Thank you, council. I look forward to the opportunity, and I'm gonna be working really hard this week. I think meeting a lot of people and getting the lay of the land, and I think I'm gonna have Cody give me a tour of the city at least and see some of these projects going on to do, so, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll move down to item E, which is the approval of an independent contractor agreement for the appointment and engagement of services for the interim city manager. Councilmember Patterson.
I move to approve the independent contractor agreement for appointment and engagement of services for an interim city manager for the city of Rawlins, Wyoming.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the independent contractor agreement for the appointment and engagement of services for an interim city manager for the city of Rawlins. Do I have any discussion on this item? All right, then will you open online voting, please?
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 6 yeas.
Okay, and we'll repeat the process and come sign another document.
Oh, okay. My dad's birthday,
Oh.
75.
Again, welcome aboard. And welcome to Rawlins. Now we'll move down to item F, which is an ordinance. Sorry, I was laughing at my own mistake earlier. Councilmember Sanger.
I move to approve first reading and waive the reading of the ordinance approving amending Title 19, Section 19.08.285, junk, and Section 19.08.290, junk salvage wreckage yard, adding in Section 19.08.265, impound, section 19.08266 impound yard, section 19.08603 salvage yard, section 19.08271 towing business, section 19.08722 towing yard, and section 19.08.759 wrecking yard, and clarifying section 19.28.020 schedule of uses, and section 19.40.050 fences.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve first reading and waive the reading of the ordinance approving amending Title 19, Section 19.082.285, junk in Section 19.08290, junk salvage wreckage yard, adding in Section 19.08265, impound Section 19.08266, impound yard, Section 19.08603, salvage yard 19.08721, towing business Section 19.08722, towing yard in Section 19.08759, wreckage yard and clarifying Section 19.28.020, schedule of uses in Section 19.40.050 fences. And I will turn it over to you, Lou.
Madam Mayor and Council, this has been endless hours of meetings with staff. We've worked with the city attorney, Sonia and Mike and myself. We've even had Brian in on this, so it's been a team effort with this change on this. When we got looking through the ordinance, there was schedule of uses that were kind of bunched up, which when we go out and try to enforce different ordinances, it was, well, this isn't junk. So we ran into several instances of that. So we felt that if we cleared that up, broke it up a little bit to clarify that for the public. And the end result is what we have in front of us. I think it's gonna be a good tool moving forward. Like I say, the definitions and without the help of Panita with the definitions, and like I said, we have many meetings, and I'll actually be glad when we're in the third reading of this and it's final, so then we can move on to the next chapter. So I'm here for questions.
I will go ahead. Do you want me to reread the question from earlier about the grandfather clause?
I'd like to refer that to our city attorney,
I'm sure.
because she was going to help me out there.
And I'm sorry, will you please repeat the question?
Absolutely. So they wrote, the blanket grandfather date in section 19.40.050 would prevent the city from requiring opaque fences for industrial properties along major thoroughfares. Even though these fences are required under both current and proposed ordinance, at a minimum, it is important to enforce opaque fencing standards for junky properties along visible roads. And then they had a suggested amendment, if you'd like me to read it to you.
Absolutely.
They wrote, remove the blanket grandfather date. If a grandfather provision is retained, it should be limited to lawfully existing permitted fences in compliance with code as of the ordinance's effective date, excluding any unpermitted, non-compliant, or unsafe fences. This ensures that compliant fences are unaffected while maintaining enforceability. So that was the first one, Anita.
Did they can you, please repeat which specific section it was?
19.40.050.
Okay, there's a bunch of sections. I believe they are referring to subsection I, which is new subsection, yes, subsection I, which relates to storage lots which face the main thoroughfares of the city. Is that correct?
I do know they have I listed in their second question, so, and let me give you the second question too, Anita. Sorry, we just got this morning. Clarity on which properties must have opaque fences. section 19.40.050I would be clearer if all business types required to have opaque fencing along thoroughfares were listed, including impound yards, junk yards, salvage yards, towing yards, wrecking yards, and storage lots. This would promote consistent enforcement and clearly communicate the requirements. So I think it's twofold. They don't like the blanket grandfather.
So if I may, the schedule of uses does provide additional clarity that supplements, this particular ordinance. And so it is intended to be read, side by side.
Okay.
There's also at the final subsection of this ordinance does provide, subsection L. If a use, specified in the schedule of uses includes a fencing requirement that is more specific or restrictive than those set forth in this section, then the ordinance with the more restrictive, regulation applies.
Councilmember Singer?
So I'm guessing when they say major thoroughfares, they're talking about Spruce, Cedar, Third, right?
I believe so, yes.
Those are state highways, are they not?
And I'm sorry?
They're state highways. Each one of those is a state highway. And as such, the state statutes dictate what has to be on their properties, as they do for federal highways and state and federal highways. I believe there's a state statute that already clarifies they have to be opaque, they have to be covered up. It already states that.
That's correct, and so while I didn't, I'm not sure when these were originally drafted, they do comply with the state statutes and federal requirements for highways.
So our statute's gonna comply with what the state doesn't enforce now. Because they don't enforce this now. Because
We
if
also
you drive,
have, I'm sorry,
if you drive down I-80, just drive out of town, look to your right. There's an entire freeway, state highway, freeway, with junk everywhere, that the state doesn't enforce that on. Now, if you go to Rock Springs, they do out there. But they don't
frankly,
here.
I can't speak to their lack of enforcement, however, there is specifically Wyoming Junkyard Control Act, which is covered by Wyoming state statute that should be the enforcement mechanism, however, because those are outside of our city limits, we don't have any say in that one way or the other.
Right, but these are in our city limits. So are we enforcing that, or is that state law gonna enforce that?
It goes hand in hand. If we adopt those, then we have the ability to enforce those.
Any further questions? Just for clarification, this was passed through planning and zoning, just so the audience is here.
Additionally, Board of Adjustments did have insight into this as well because it can impact and it does touch both boards. Board of Adjustments, for clarification, is when citizens are looking for a variance or perhaps a special, differentiation in treatment from the ordinances due to special circumstances.
Alright. With no further questions, I will ask Lynn to open online voting, please.
Online voting is open.
Thank you, Attorney Mayberry.
Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 6 yeas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Alright, moving down to a discussion about the renovations to the VFW ball field located at Rodeo Street and Daly Street in Rawlins. And this was requested by Councilmember Seehoff, so I will turn it over to you, Cody.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Honorable Council. Very thankful for Pam for getting me some information for the meeting for you guys to look at. Kind of overview of where we're at.
You put together this beautiful report, Cody.
What was that?
I said you put this together, Cody, this beautiful report. Thank you, Pam.
It's teamwork.
It is teamwork.
So this is just an overview of this project and, you know, how it's come to fruition at this point. In the beginning, when we started looking at the VFW fields, as far as the concession stands, the past building was extremely dilapidated. Facilities were sinking into the ground due to groundwater effect. We had a collapsed sewer system that was in disrepair. The bathrooms were falling apart. It just wasn't in good condition when the city heard that we could be hosting the State of Wyoming's Little League Western Side Regional Tournament, which would be coming up this year. In the past, we tore down the building, started working on some of the groundwater problems and securing the ground for a new structure. In the past, the city had allocated $200,000 for this project, $100,000 for the fields and the facility, and then another $100,000 approximately for asphalt. If you look in there, some of the other repairs in there, the infields, outfields, irrigation, dugouts, scoreboards, you know, these are all projects that need to be done as well before this tournament. When I took over the Parks Department in July, this project was kind of set in front of me to try to get completed. There were some hurdles in trying to figure out what we would like the building to look like. I believe we've gotten to a point where we can get I actually heard today, we got some drawings and some options, something I could present to council. I just got word from that today. So I'll be presenting that in the near future so that we can move forward. I completely understand the importance of this project. We would really like this tournament to happen. It's just, there's a lot of little things that we need to get addressed before we move forward on this project. And the building and what the city council would like it to look like is the most important thing at this point. So with that $200,000, we've expended about $30,000 at this point. So we will have, and then we haven't even looked at costs for new sewer and new water to the building. So we'll have to look at the cost with that as part of the project and moving forward. So there'll be some estimated costs that will come with it and maybe some allocation of more funds to complete this project if we're wanting to move forward with this concession stand. What it'll look like in the future. So with that quick overview, does council have any questions?
Main question I have is, I'm looking at, is there a possibility we could do some figuring on the water and sewer and get some lines dug in before frost? Because winter's coming and then they'll have to get done before we can do anything with the building. So if they're out of the way, then we'll move that much further ahead.
I can absolutely do that. I can get some numbers. Are we still looking at due to ADA access, or are we wanting the concession stand area in the center of the complex? Okay.
I would jump in, Cody, if you don't mind. The center of the complex that we're talking about is also the area that has groundwater that caused the previous building to sink.
But if we're doing the monolithic floor in the building, or whatever, the groundwater ain't gonna bother us.
We could look at, you know, with our engineer, we could look at maybe a sump system that could take some of the groundwater out in our heavy spring times when we have a lot of groundwater, and that would just pump it through the sewer system.
I would just like to see what you guys suggest. Give us the best option. It's not gonna sink, and use the least amount of money. So if we can avoid using sumps and doing all that kind of work, that's what I would like to see. So you guys are the brains.
I agree.
May I ask another question? Of the money that's been allocated, Cody, can you break it down for council, how much is left, what it's been allocated for, and then what parts of the project remain unfunded? So, for example, the sewer work that needs to be done, is that part of the money that's already been allocated, or will that be additional money that council would have to allocate?
That would be the additional funds that I am speaking of earlier. If you look in there, the funds that have already been allocated, sorry, scoreboards, electrical fencing repairs, bullpen additions, scoreboard wiring, and miscellaneous. There's on the asphalt side, there's asphalt repairs, there's rock, and then there's a concrete pad that has been put towards the project as of right now. And there's been approximately $20,000 in electrical already expended, and then about $10,000 in rock to kind of help remediate the groundwater at this point.
Cody, for clarification, is there any money allocated for the sewer, the water abatement, or the building itself?
No, there is not.
Okay.
Wasn't the original 100,000 for the building and 100,000 for pavement? Originally was.
The original was the $100,000 for asphalt repairs, and then the other $100,000 allocated was for fields. It was not for the building itself. It was the fencing needs repaired. There was the infields, outfields, irrigation, bullpens. That was kind of the overview of the other $100,000 that was allocated towards the project.
I would suggest getting some numbers for the sewer, and then we can present it to council.
Okay.
Sewer and water. Let's go, Greg.
If the allocation for those, and I just can't remember, if we reallocated that towards the building, which of these items do we have to do, and which ones could be put off? If we could do that.
As far as the other items that are on the list that are here,
There.
without speaking with Park Superintendent, I'm not 100% sure. I know that the fencing needs lots of repairs. The fields are in pretty good shape. They did get the laser grader that was part of the rec grant, district rec grant. It did end up costing a little bit more, but they have been using that and doing some of their repairs on the fields. I think the irrigation system is in decent shape to get us through. Parking, I think the parking lots should be okay for the tournament. They're not in the greatest of shape, but I think if we swept them out, they would look pretty nice.
And that's the asphalt repairs?
That would be on the infield lanes.
Okay, so that was my next question. I mean, most times I've been to, it's all dirt, so.
It's asphalt mill as at this point since they took down the building. It was a very broken up alligator asphalt in the past that was falling apart in very big chunks, very dangerous. And so in the process of taking out the building, they just took the asphalt out all the way to basically the outfield fence line. And so that we would do the asphalt repairs to that point. So it'd be new asphalt all the way in the infield.
And the biggest concern for this was the ADA, right? Could we do a narrow path for that, to mitigate it until we have the monies to do it complete?
Well, I'm worried about, any kind of persons coming into that tournament that would need access to move around. That would be kind of difficult for them to do in the asphalt mill that we have down. We would like to have them be able to go where they would like to. I think, if we really pushed it, we could actually get, the water sewer line in and the pad poured this year, possibly, and then look at the structure first thing in spring. I mean, if we could get the pad going, that means first thing spring, as soon as weather conditions are right, we could do asphalt all the way up to the pad while the pad is under construction.
So we just need building design.
Yeah,
So
once.
we know what we're pouring is a pad.
Yes, we could actually pour the pad a little bit bigger than the footprint of the actual building, just to cover ourselves, like a sidewalk around the building, basically give us a 4-foot buffer. That way we'd have plenty of room. The only thing I would be wondering about is plumbing, where the plumbing would come up through the floor, so we'd have to have some kind of drawings before we pour that.
So we got that design.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering about water sewer now, because it's gonna have to be there before anything else goes through.
Yeah.
So, it's, we're frozen.
If we can at least use the original drawings from what we were presented, we could design the building around those drawings, and then at least we would know where our plumbing would be at in this building, and then move forward on design. of the actual structure.
Madam Mayor, may I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, actually, two things. One, I want to repeat Cody's understanding of the importance of this project and that we understand why there's such a strong desire for this project. For council's full understanding, what I wanted to share with you was that the majority of this project is also going to be occurring at the same time as Edinburgh, the water transmission line, the Higley Underpass, and several other major projects that Cody's going to be overseeing at the same time. Just want to make sure that you knew that.
Go ahead, Rose.
Maybe if this started to address, but I have a question on groundwater. Has it been tested to make sure that it's not water coming from a broken city line somewhere in that area?
The water level there, 2 feet at best. That's how high up it is. I thought that Jim Tichy had broken a water line in between the multiplex and the stadium, because he was working on a line right there. And the hole he was working in was full of water. He didn't break a line, that's just where the water is. That's how high up it is.
Yeah, a water test is cheap.
Yeah, so it's just right, it's 2 feet down at best. That's why there's a well on the fairgrounds, because they didn't have to go very far to get water. So,
There's also a spring on the hill above by
Yeah. There's a spring right next to those fields.
But as far as the water testing, we have samples that we can do on site. It'll just give a pink hue if we have any chlorine residuals. So we can absolutely, when we go in there, in the springtime, we can dig down and do a quick test. But, with, like you said, the groundwater levels in that area, the springs in the springtime, what we know in the past that we've dealt with, we're pretty positive it is just groundwater.
There's a lot.
It doesn't come, a water break sometimes will come higher up in surface and you'll see it flowing. This stays at a certain level and doesn't exceed that level inside the ground.
Quite ways away from the center there to the main water lines through. It'd be pretty buggle, I think, wherever it's leaking.
But during the project, it's a real quick, easy thing for us to do a residual test, so.
Any further discussion? All right, we will move down to an executive session. Councilmember Singer.
I move to enter into executive session at 7:16 PM per Wyoming statute 164405A 9 and 2 to consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law, to consider the appointment, employment, right to practice, or dismissal of a public officer, professional person, or employee, or to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee, professional person, excuse me, unless the employer or professional person or officer requests a public hearing. The governing body may exclude from any public or private hearing during the examination of a witness, any and all other witnesses in the matter being investigated following the hearing or executive session. The governing body may deliberate on its decision in executive session.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session at 7:16 PM. Any discussion? Then when you're ready, will you open online voting, please?
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 6 yeas.
So since this is not working the normal way, we are going to end this stream. I will go back live again once the council comes out of executive session. Thank you all for your patience with our technical difficulties.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to come out of executive session at 7:38 PM. Any discussion? All right, then will you open online voting, please?
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 6 yeas.
Okay, moving down to approve the executive session minutes of September 26th. Councilmember Patterson.
Hold on one second. Is that right?
No, September 16th.
No, we took that.
Oh, that's
one off.
right.
That's the big one.
That's the C, it went to D.
I move to approve the executive session minutes of September 26, 2025 special city council meeting as presented or amended.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve executive session minutes of September 26th special city council meeting. Any discussion? Then will you open online voting, please?
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 6 yeas.
All right, were there any objections for matters discussed in executive session?